So Heidi has this prophetic call. The blind will see, the deaf will hear, the dead will be raised. She gets back to Mozambique and she prays for everyone living, everyone that crosses her path. And guess how many blind people got healed after the first year? 0. So for a year. I mean, if you had had that word and nothing happens for a year, most people would have given up. But not Heidi. A year later, she finds a woman. Her name just happens to be in Portuguese, Heidi. She prays for this woman. She gets her sight back. Next day, she finds another blind woman. Her name just happens to be in Portuguese, Heidi. She prays for that woman. She gets her sight back. The third day, she prays for another blind person. Her name just happens to be in Portuguese, Heidi. You're getting it, okay? And she gets her sight back. But I want you to tell me about no name.
That's a beautiful story. I was just visiting every Monday in Mozambique. I visit my village. It's just my local village. I like to keep it real. We have 3,500 kids in our school from there, so I like to see their families. They're living in really squalor. And I just sit and hold the poor and just spend time loving on people, just really simply. I go low and slow and spend time. And on my way back from visiting a mama named Tina, I saw this little old woman, and she was really poor. You know, her clothes were shredded, and she's sitting, a strange thing, she's sitting in the sun. And I'm thinking, why is anyone sitting in the sun in Mozambique? It's hot. Why, you know, at least she should be in the shade. And I said, Nchina Natipani, what's your name? In our local dialect, Nchina Natipani. And she answered me back, and she said, I have no name. And I was undone by that. I thought, how can anyone on earth not be given a name? And I saw a woman sitting about the edge of the table away from her, and I said, what is her name? And she said, she has no name. She's blind, and she has no name. And I've often thought about how the believers say people are nameless and faceless, but Daddy God always gives people a name. Daddy God would never say you're nameless or you're faceless or you're blind, you don't matter, you're poor, you don't matter. God sees each one of us, and He knows all the hairs on our head. And so before I shared the beauty of Yeshua, the beauty of His love, I said, sweetheart, I would like to give you a name. And the name I want to give you is Utelia, which is joy and you exist. Joy and you exist. And she just, it was beautiful. Utelia and Makua. And she opens her mouth and she has about 4 teeth. They're just dangling down. She's very old and her teeth are just dangling, but she's laughing with joy. And I asked the woman down a ways from her to call her by name, and she calls her Utelia, and she's so happy. And then I just said, I believe that Jesus wants to just heal your eyes, and there's no cameras, there's no razzmatazz, there's no lights, there's no flyers, there's just the poor and the love of God, and just sitting there. And I just hugged her, and the mercy of God hit this woman. Her eyes turned brown. It was so beautiful. It's just so low and slow. The beauty of Jesus, just what He does.
Were you watching it turn white?
Yes.
Brown?
It's just they go white, gray, brown. And she's opening her eyes and she's looking around. She can see. Now this lady can see. She can see.